Hey, Hal here. Just wanted to tell you we're excited about our partnership with Minus 33. Minus 33 specialized in merino wool base layers for outdoor enthusiasts, from tops and bottoms to hats, socks, gloves. And our gear is going to keep you warm and comfortable no matter what adventure you're on, especially those big woods ones. We're a fifth-generation family, owned and operated, a New Hampshire woolen textile manufacturer. They have over 106 years of woolen expertise, and they started manufacturing woolen socks, the Mountain Heritage ones, in New Hampshire in 2018, with the idea that a quality product, affordable pricing, and can be worn and loved from season to season, no matter what your experience level or skill is, so no one should feel uncomfortable or ill-prepared in the outdoor community. Having a reliable gear is one of the first steps towards a lifetime of passion or whatever activity it is. And my caveat to that is you got to wear your woolies. Cotton is death.
This is the Big Woods Bucks podcast. Come explore the big woods and timber in North America with your host, Maine Master Guide and deer tracking expert Hal Blood. Listen to Hal and co-hosts Lee Libby and Joe Cruzy as they unlock the secrets of big woods whitetails. Each episode will provide valuable insights in the tried and true system Hal has used for the last 40 years to scout, locate, and hunt mature big woods bucks. Listen and laugh as the crew discusses Hal's legendary adventures and learn how to apply a lifetime's worth of lessons from the big woods to your own hunting and outdoor adventures.
Don't be perusing through the... Whoop.
Because I'm running 5 point right now.
There's no, you don't have
Yeah,
to
we got a hot mic moment.
it goes to all
Really?
Huh?
Wow.
no
Yeah,
service is there, grabs it.
no kidding. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I don't know how to turn it on vibrate anyway.
Might be.
I just shut it off.
Nope.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's been open.
Is your mic okay?
Check.
Is that mic okay, Ben?
Yep.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah, Mike's okay.
Hal's going to sing, just so you know that. Be ready.
Trailers for sale or rent.
That's always the song you
Select
go to.
50 cents.
What did we get
No
into, Joe?
phone, no food, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes. Love pushing broom, buys a 8x12 4-bit room. I'm a man of means by all means. King of the road. All right, let's move it along here.
We're ready now. Are we singing tonight?
We got any requests?
Yeah, get out the stage.
I thought the cane was coming with a hook on the end of it. All right. Well, we're going to do a podcast, I guess. We got an impromptu one here because none of us knew we were doing a podcast at 5:45 tonight. I don't think. I just found out 15 minutes ago. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about guiding and outfitting and how that fits into our lifestyle and go from there. Then we're going to get some audience participation from you. Sound like a plan? Well, you don't have to participate, but if you want to.
You will now.
Yeah. Got it. Mike's got his eye on you now. Yeah.
You any good
Yeah.
at singing?
If you raise your hand and you want to participate, we'll bring you up.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess the way this is going to work, I guess, is Brian, after we get towards the end there, Brian's going to come around and ask people stuff. I think that's the way it's going to work. So
Yeah.
we'll do our explaining first, and then we'll move along into that, see how things go. We'll pause for a minute and open it up. Unless we're already going.
Are we recording?
I don't know.
I don't know, the red light's on.
Where's Brian?
Is that a bad sign?
Brian, we rolling? Are we okay to?
We rolling? I just want me to open her up right now.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Nope, I got a soda, thanks.
You're good at that.
Get going. All right, we got the thumbs up. So we'll open it up with the standard intro here. All right. Welcome to the Big Woods Bucks podcast. I'm your host, Hal Blood. Got a bunch of co-hosts tonight. It's a little nerve-wracking for me here. So we got Joe Cruzy on the end, my regular co-host. And I'd like to say that Lee Libby, Bad Lee, couldn't make it this weekend. He had a death in his family, so we're going to miss Lee a little bit. We got Rick Labby here.
Hello.
And we got old guide Mike. We got Big Ben Allen. He's the newest outfitter now. He just bought his own outfitting business from Brian, so he's tipping his toes into it. He's been guiding quite a while, but he's tipping his toes right into the whole spiel there. Yeah. And we'll get into that in a little bit. So Joe's going to kick it off, I guess, because he came up with the idea, so go ahead, Joe. Lifestyle, I think, is what he told me we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that listens to the podcast, we talk about signposts enough, so I thought it might be something kind of cool to do something different because everyone on the stage here is either a guide, outfitter, both. They're kind of lumped into the same thing, so I feel pretty blessed to be able to have this lifestyle, and I think it's one of the reasons that a lot of folks follow and like to go along because, you know, I know for me growing up when I was young, I dreamt about it. Of course, in those days, it wasn't as easy to get all the information. So I remember when I was about 17 getting Outdoor Life, and there was those little ads in the back, and I would look at outfitter school, and there was one out in Montana that I was real tempted to go to, and I think my parents, I was living in South Florida at the time, and they said something. Have you lost your mind? Like, that's not a real job. And in actuality, it is. So I didn't really pursue that dream at that point. I spent a lot of years in South Florida and had the opportunity about 16 years ago to pull up roots down there and move to Maine, where I was actually originally from. I had roots up in the Jackman area, so spent all my childhood up there and everything, so it was kind of a dream of mine to eventually end up there and raise my kids up there. So for me, it was a lot of years thinking about it and honestly not thinking that it would ever become a reality. And 16 years ago, my wife and I moved to Maine and bought a property next door to my family's camp and got into guiding. And for me, it was like a lot of guys get started in our area. A lot of the younger guys just want to go moose hunting. It really didn't have as much to do about deer at that time as it did about moose because I've always been infatuated with moose hunting, just love it. I don't know if it's the communication, the interaction, the idea that you never know what's going to step out. And so my buddy Eric Frigon and I started just really taking people and, you know, friends that had permits and everything. And a lot of guys get started that way. And then a couple years later after doing that and realizing how much I enjoyed it, I decided to kind of take the plunge and get my guide's license and start doing it as a business. And it really is one of the best decisions I ever made from the perspective of quality of life and the people that I get to meet and interact with. So for me, my journey was more about moose to start, and then I was fortunate enough to get hooked up with Hal, and we became friends and hit it off. And we moose hunted together a lot and got more into the deer. And so, you know, it's not something that I think a lot of people look at as a career, because it's very difficult to make a there's very few guys that make a full-time living guiding anymore. I think
It's a tough.
one of the first
it's a
guys
tough
that comes to
business.
mind is probably Paul Laney. That's like
Yeah.
you know, there's a few guys in Maine that do it, but it's
There's a few in Maine, yeah.
there's a few, but it's something. It's in our neck of the woods where you have to be doing other things to supplement it, but you definitely get your fill of it come the fall. You know, you get enough to really satisfy that urge to hunt. And I will say that it's never one of those things that you get sick of. You know, my wife would say, well, geez, I hope you don't burn out on it and hunt so much that you don't like hunting anymore. And that is not a problem. Right. It's never been a problem, you know. This time of year is when it really starts heating up for us, especially with the moose hunting. You know, we've got our clients booked now, and you know, we're heading towards the season, and there's a lot of planning. There's a lot of preparation involved. It's not just a matter of, you know, opening day, getting your guy and going out hunting. There's a lot more involved in that. But it's certainly rewarding because, you know, I haven't been doing it for near the time that Hal and Mike have been doing it, and Rick was doing it years ago too.
Yeah, I was guiding bear hunters and deer hunters 39 years ago. Yeah.
You're just a whippersnapper then.
Yeah, you ought to see some pictures.
We have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, I remember, one of the things I do remember, though, when I was first starting out, I was over at my shop, and so where my lodge is right on 201. And there's a lot of hunters that have to pass by that going back to Jackman. And I remember Hal driving by one day in the Ram Charger, and I thought there was a moose in the Ram Charger, but you said you never had one in there. But I remember all the guys that were there with me. Oh, there goes Hal. He's got another big moose.
Yeah, it was
And-
it would have been in the pickup behind it. The Ram Charger was the moose hauler, got him out of the cuts in the woods, and
Yeah.
he would load him in the pickup and come out. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Hal was pretty well known at that time. Maybe not as well known as he is now, but he was obviously well respected, and he was the go-to guy in the area. So I've always been interested in Hal's journey to get to where he got with Cedar Ridge.
That was a long journey. I don't know how the heck we ever made it. Really. Mine actually kind of started, that dream of mine started when I was a kid too. You know, when you're growing up, you're a teenager, you're trying to figure out, your parents saying, what do you want to do in life? And they're trying to tell you ought to do this and that. And
Right.
the only, you know, I had the different things. So maybe I'd be a firefighter, or maybe I'd be an airline pilot or something like that. But the only thing that kept going back to me, because I like to hunt so much, was I finally decided what I wanted to do. I wanted to move up north, because I lived in southern Maine at the time, and live in a cabin in the woods. And that was my whole dream to begin with. And I didn't know how I was going to support that dream, but that's really all I wanted to do was...
Right. And you were a lobster fisherman making big money.
Yeah, but even before that, when I was a teenager, that's what I was thinking of.
Right.
Somehow I was going to someday I was going to move north, and I wasn't getting married. That was, that was a thing. I didn't have any time for that. Something changed there, but along the way, you meet the right one, But, yeah, and then when I went in the Marine Corps, then I said, well, another way to be in the woods would be a game warden. And so that's actually the reason I went in the Marine Corps, because I said, you had to be 20 to be a game warden. So I said, I'll go in the Marine Corps a couple years. Well, the draft was just getting over after Vietnam, and you had to go for 3. They recruiter said, well, if you go in for 4, I can get you this $2,500 bonus. Infantry. Got to go infantry. I said, yeah, I'll do that. Well, back in 1975 when I enlisted, $2,500 was a lot of money. And so I went in, and then the year, about 6 months before I was getting out, I wrote a letter to the state Fish and Wildlife to application for a game warden. They sent a letter back, we're not taking applications. So I'm like, my whole 4 years is gone, and I can't be a game warden.
Wow.
But I knew I had just got married. Knew I had to support my wife, so I'm like, now what the heck am I going to do?
I wanted to be a game warden when I was like 18, 19, and
Did you?
yeah, and then after about a year of wanting to be a game warden, I finally figured out a game warden's actually checking hunters all day, and I want to be out hunting.
Yeah,
So
well,
I said
I think that
probably won't work.
That was the beauty of it for me. Was I'm glad everything works out for a reason, and I'm glad I didn't, because that's what would have happened, you know. Right. So I ended up. I was getting out, you know. So I said, what am I going to do, you know? And now it wasn't me. I got married. I'd been married a year, and got to support my wife. So I just went and got a job down at Hannaford's in the warehouse. That's where Cam, Mike's son, works now. And I couldn't stand it. I was there for 2 years, and all I could think of was, how the hell am I getting out of here? It was like selecting groceries. It was like a mouse going through a maze, getting his cheese and then bring it out to the truck, you know. That's all I could think. I said, I got to do something else. I was stir crazy. So my wife's father, he was a lobsterman, and he'd been out for a year. He had back surgery, and he said, hey, how'd you like to try lobstering? And only thing that flashed in my mind was outside work and no time clock. And I go, I'm in. And that's how I started lobstering. I learned from my father-in-law, went on my own. But anyway, that's when I decided. And then I learned that from him. I went with my father-in-law a couple years, and I bought my own boat. But I told my wife, I said, I'm going to lobster for 10 years, and we're moving north, and we're going to have a sporting camp, and I'm going to guide. That's what we're doing in 10 years, so get ready. I think she might have thought maybe I was just joking, you know, or maybe she was hoping I was joking or something.
Mind, right?
Yeah. But I actually cut that 10-year plan a year short. You know, I got antsy, and I cut it a year short. I ain't got no patience, but... and I had no idea, because lobstering was pretty good back then. The industry was good, and it was not a high overhead business, you know. And I moved up there, and I said, well, I got to build buildings. I got to build up a guide service. And once I started doing it, I'm like, this ain't going like the way I thought it might. You know, like the money's going out twice as quick as it's coming in, because I'm getting a loan to build buildings. And you know, when you're new at it, all you people are thinking, well, I got to find the right guide. Well, when you're the new guide, they say, how long you been guiding? Well, you're going to be my first clients. And they're like, I don't know if I am or not, you know. And that's how you start, you know. So you have to build. You got to build from scratch, you know.
Build your reputation.
Yeah,
right?
it was difficult. It was difficult. But the only way you can make that work is you work hard for people, you know, because guiding is really about making other people's dreams come true, not yours. I read in a book one time, if you make enough people's dreams, if you help enough people in life, you'll get whatever you want out of life. And it's really kind of true in guiding, you know, you're helping people,
Absolutely.
you know, accomplish their dream or goal or whatever they want to shoot a deer, a bear, a moose, whatever the heck they want. And that's really what you're doing. And that's all you got to focus on. If you get good at that, you'll build your clients and your reputation. They'll come back. They'll bring people. And there's other aspects to it. My wife was a good cook, and she treated the guys good and fed them good. And half of them used to come and say, we ain't here to kill anything. We're just here to eat for the week, you know. And so that's all part of it. You know, it's funny, but it's true, you know. If you got a nice place to stay and you're eating good, you know, everything else, the animals, yeah, you want to get a bear probably, and or bear, deer, or moose, but you're really there for the hunt. And I think a lot of people lose track of that. And I've been listening to this young fella I call him a young fella because he's younger than me, but he's like in his early 40s. He's an Alaskan guide. His name's Billy Moles, and been listening to him give some talks on YouTube, and he's kind of got the same philosophies as me, but he summed it up the way I always looked at it. I just never kind of spit it out that way, but you know, he'd ask people, do you want to go out there? It'd be moose or sheep or caribou, whatever, you know, bear hunting, grizzly. Do you want to kill a sheep or do you want to go sheep hunting? And I thought about that and I said, it's exactly right.
Yeah.
Do you want to go deer hunting or you just want to kill a deer? Some people, you know, a lot of these big game hunters, they got to check the box, right? They got to get this, they got to get
Right.
that. And they're not after the hunt.
Right.
They just want to kill something. And there's a huge difference. If you decide you want to hunt, you're going to end up killing more stuff because you'll enjoy the hunt. You'll be relaxed. You won't be all uptight because you got to think you got to kill something that day, you know?
Yeah, you'll remember it the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what you're doing as an outfitter is you're trying to help other people get what they want. And I've seen a lot of them over the years come and go in Maine, you know. It'd be like, and again, I go way back before the internet. I mean, everybody wrote a letter to you. They wanted a brochure, and you'd send a letter back, you know, so it was snail mail, and then they'd pick up the phone, you know, if they wanted to talk to you or whatever. And that's how you did business, you know. I think actually it was more personalized that back then, but nowadays everything happens so quick, you know, you click on the button on the internet, and you can search out, you know, 10 outfitters in about 5 minutes, you know. But you're not learning anything about them. So if you're going on a guided hunt, I tell people, check your references, do your homework. Just don't pick somebody out and do it, you know. 'Cause used to be everybody used to advertise in the Maine Sportsman, which is it was at the time the outdoor newspaper for the state. Came out every month, and each region of the state used to have like ads in it. Each business would take a little ad in it, or the ones that wanted to, and people would get a hold of you that way. And you'd see, you know, every year there'd be like 5, 6, 10 new outfits or new guides or something. You'd see their ad there, and the next year you'd never hear from them again. They'd be gone because obviously they weren't in it for the right reasons and couldn't make it. Because everybody thinks it's easy, you know. It's funny, I taught guide school for 20-something years, and people would go, I know they were in the class, and I try to size everybody up, and a lot of them were there to get there. They want to hunt bear, you know, because it's easy. They think it's the easy thing, right? You just throw some bait out, and you get the hunters, and they're adding up how many hunters they can take and how much money that equals, but the only problem is they ain't minusing out all the expense, right? Yeah, they ain't doing that. Because bear hunting's a whole month's work preparing before you even have a hunter come, right? There's really 2 months' work in 1 month. They don't think about that. So that after a year, they're pretty much done. They didn't calculate the math right, you know. So I think sometimes I didn't calculate things right either, but anyways. Yeah, they were also broke like me.
We never baited bear for a living. We baited bear and guided bear hunters because we loved doing it.
Yeah.
You know, we could get in the woods early. I love baiting bear. Love taking
Oh, yeah.
hunters, and it's not for the money.
We were out in the
sure.
woods. We were having fun. We were out
Right.
every day baiting bear, but guess what? We were in the woods, riding around, looking for stuff. We'd see deer, moose. We'd see all kinds of stuff in the woods. We weren't sitting in the office or anywhere else. We were in the
riding
woods
dirt
every
roads.
day.
So old guide Mike was really one of the originals that was around when Hal was in the early days starting out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, my story is a little different than the other guys. I never wanted to be a game warden. I just wanted them to stop chasing me, you know? And so I stole Ben's line. But actually, it's my line because it's a true story. And I remember I was tracking a buck one time, and we just got some snow. Hal and I actually grew up in southern Maine, not too far apart, just a few miles.
We had a camp probably 3 miles from your house, and we never knew each other.
We never even knew each other. But back in those days in Maine, back in the 60s and 70s, there wasn't a lot of deer, especially in southern Maine, huh, Hal? There was not many deer. So if you had a reputation of shooting some deer, you got pretty well known. Sometimes some of us shot too many, but we won't talk about that. But anyway, I was tracking a buck one time, and we just got fresh snow, and I was and I actually jumped him, and I bought my wife at the time. I bought her a gun, and I had that gun that day, and when I went to shoot at the buck, the gun didn't go off. So anyway, I walked back to my car. What's that?
You divorced her after that?
No, I didn't. I got another story about her, but anyway. So anyway, I walked back out to the car, and when I got to the car, there's a note on my windshield. Mike, give me a call. It was from the deputy sheriff, who was my cousin. So I wasn't going to call him. I went to his house, eh? And, oh, by the way, it was the day after Christmas, which isn't deer season, by the way. So he says, give me a call. So I went to his house, and he goes, what are you doing in there? Oh, I was just chasing rabbits and stuff. He goes, no, you weren't. He goes, I saw the buck track go across the road. He said, I tell you what, I want you to go. You should use your skills use them to a good reason. Why don't you go get your guide license? And then, take people hunting and stop doing these bad things. So this is 1975, by the way, and you got your guide license by going to the game warden's house and having coffee, and they gave you a guide license. That was the way it went back then. So I said, geez, maybe I'll do that. So I did. I went and got my guide license in 1975, and I really never used it too much. I worked in the prison system, and I retired in 95, and I went right to Jackman to live. And Hal's dad, I had a restaurant at the time because I needed a job, so I bought a restaurant. What a good idea.
Been there, done that.
Huh, Joe? What a good idea, Joe. Yeah. So I bought a restaurant, and Hal's dad used to come up and eat breakfast with me every morning. And so he's up there one morning. He goes, geez, Hal needs a guide. This guy just quit. He needs a guide real bad. So I said, oh, really? So I went over to Hal's and introduced myself, and went to work for him 1995, and we've been together ever since. And now, one thing I want to say to you folks, that these guys here and those guys right over there, we're brothers. We're 100% brothers. We will do anything. We will go to any length for each other. We're just not a company. We are brothers, and we always stand behind each other. And if I'm hunting that day and Ben says I need a cameraman, we go do it. There's no questions. There's no, oh, I want to hunt this day or whatever. We are brothers, and that's how this company goes. And that's why when you talk to these guys, you're getting the real deal. You're not going to get bull, okay? That's how that goes. So anyway, getting back to my bull. So anyway, that's how I ended up with Hal in 1995, and we've been together ever since. So that's my story, and we've done.
My way or the highway, though.
Yeah, Hal's favorite line was with me. Mike, it's my way or the highway. I heard that for 22 years as I wrecked 5 trucks and whatever else happened. Who knows?
I will say, every time I go with Hal, I probably heard them all now, but there was a lot of Mike stories about crap that he tore up.
One time, I'll tell you guys a quickie. One time we're coming down off Bald Mountain, and we're coming down Bald Mountain. It's just like this. So Hal's telling me the story about when he went caribou hunting.
We're bear baiting, remember?
Well, we were bear baiting. Yeah, we were bear baiting. So we're coming down off the mountain, and we're riding along, and he's telling me about this caribou. He went on a caribou hunt, and we're going along. All of a sudden, the truck just takes off, and it's flying down the hill. And I look at Hal. He goes, "We ain't got no brakes." He's pumping away on that old Toyota because he only gave us junk for trucks, right? So he's pumping away on that old Toyota. And so he had to bring it in the woods to stop it, huh? So he hit a whole bunch of
Bring her into the
cherry
mud.
trees and everything else, right? Finally, we stop. We're sticking up in the air, and he's sitting there, and he looks at me, and I go, "Well, did you get the caribou or not?" But that's just the life that we've had over the 25 years we all been together here or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, that's how my guiding career started, and we've done, I don't know, 100 moose hunts together and everything else, and now we got these big giant young kids coming into it, and, and it's
Yeah, so my guiding career was quite a bit shorter, obviously, with Hal than the rest of them, but believe it or not, it all started out with a text message from my wife and said, "Hey, this guy at work said that Hal is asking for people to do a photo shoot for Marlin." And I texted her right back and I said, "Listen, that ain't funny. You know, you don't need to bring out all my, whatever." You know, I thought she was messing with me. So I said, I got thinking about it there and I said, "You know what, frig it." I had shot a nice buck with a Marlin, and I found out how to get, I'm not very tech savvy, I'm kind of like Hal. But I found a way to get him a picture. He got it, and within 3 hours, Marlin called me back and said, "Hey, you chose be up in Jackman at this time." So I said, "No way." So went up there, and I didn't have my guide license at this time. Or did I? Yes, I did. I just got it. I just got it.
Hey, get up on that mic, Ben.
So, there we go. How's that? So, where were we? So we did the photo shoot, and the guy that was supposed to ride around with us had brought a buddy that day. And there was no room in Hal's truck, so me and Hal got to ride around all day by ourselves and shoot the shit or talk. And so I ended up mentioning to him, "Hey, I got a guide license. If you never need anybody, I'll scrub the toilets if I got to. I don't care. I just want to get in and help." So a year went by, and I hadn't got a hold of him. Sure enough, right before that moose season, the next moose season, he got a hold of me. And I was bear guiding for another guy at the time. Said, "See you later" to him. I'm going to go over with Hal. And then Hal got me going on the moose, and I never looked back. He taught me mostly everything I know about moose hunting, and taught me how to run a professional guide service. You know, make sure the people have what they need when they're there, they're comfortable. And it was a good start, and that's one thing. I have a really good network. I got fortunate. I didn't have to start off like Hal. The business I bought was already running. It was already established, and already tied in kind of with Hal and you guys anyway. So I was fortunate to come right into it with a good network of help, really. So that's where I'm at now. And
Ben's pretty modest, but I'll tell you, I remember when Ben started out, and Hal said, "Yeah, I got this kid that he's going to come up and give me a hand. He's going to be kind of a camp hand. I'm going to kind of show him the ropes." And before you know it, Ben was getting his moose on the first day, pretty much every time he went. So
yeah,
he really, not only was he, easy to be with, with the clients and stuff, but he really knew what he was doing and always performed. I said, "Hal, I think you got a good one here."
Yeah.
So.
He did.
It's always nice to see that Ben started out that way, and now he's doing his own thing. So
He always told me you were a hell of a packer.
No, he let me pack, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Hal here. I want to talk a little bit about our partnership with OnX Hunt. I've been using it for a while now, and if anybody knows me, they know I'm not a very techie person, but the OnX app is it's a real time saver. I remember the days when we poured over topo maps everywhere we was going to go and stuff, and I don't do that quite as much anymore. Where it's really helped me is scouting, whether it's deer scouting, a moose, or even turkey hunting in the spring, which I do. It really helps out. I don't have to spend as much time running around the truck burning up the gas. I'm just basically using my Onyx. Got it on my phone. Don't even carry a GPS anymore. So I just download the areas where I'm going to be hunting, whether it's up north moose hunting, and I use it mostly on the satellite imagery. I like to see the cuts and the clearings and the turkey hunting, the hidden fields and stuff. But everybody's using it now, from the game wardens to land surveyors, and just a great tool. And with our partnership with Onyx, if you use a code BWB, you're going to receive 20% off on your first premium or elite memberships. And you just go to onxmaps.com/hunt. You'll be glad you did. Good luck on the trail.
As you all know, Big Woods Bucks is devoted to promoting the best equipment for tracking and still hunting the big woods. Part of that equation for success is the sights that sit on your hunting rifle. We've chosen Skinner Sights as the company to produce our custom-built BWB Tracker Series peep sight. It's constructed of solid steel, has our custom ghost ring, and was co-developed by some of the best trackers in the world. To get yours, go to bigwoodsbucks.com and click on the Optics tab.
Hey, Hal here. Finally got some good news for all you. Our jackets are finally in. It's been a long process, but we got them done and got them right with all our new features and stuff in them. So some of the new features we added was a game pouch in the back you can access from inside with dividers in it. It's just like the original one. Mine's the original one, not the new one. It's got your slash front pocket so you can get in and get at your GPS or whatever you carry in your front ones. They're all lined with, the pockets are lined with Microtech fleece, so it's nice and warm on your hands when you put it in. Microtech's fleece. Got your slash pockets here. Just 100% wool, virgin wool. I think they call it's 100% virgin wool, but it's 85% wool with some nylon to make it stronger. Tight woven. And the vest, I don't have the vest on it. The vest snaps on. Your orange cape comes with it. And we're going to have the green checkered jackets come in 22-ounce wool, and we have plain green, forest green, same color as our pants that are coming, and those are in 18-ounce, a lighter wool, so you can have a 3-season jacket or a 4-season jacket. And the pants will be coming in a couple weeks, and just in time for deer season. So get them ordered up and we'll get them shipped right out to you. Good luck on the trail.
Hey folks, Rick Libby here from Big Woods Bucks. I'm here today to tell you about our new packs. This is our new small pack, which the first time I saw it, Chris showed it to me and I said, that's the Nuna, because that's the perfect pack if I'm getting on a buck track at noon. And it'll hold the sandwich, your water, a little bit of gear. It's virgin wool, made in USA, waterproof resistant, has a liner on the inside. It's a great pack. This pack, this is our newest large pack, which when I used to carry the older pack, I always wore suspenders because it bothered my hips a little bit. So we designed one with shoulder straps, and this is a great pack. It takes the weight off your hips, puts it onto your shoulders. It's got a GPS pouch right here in the top you slide in. Same deal, it's water resistant on the inside, got that liner. It's a perfect pack. So I'd go to bigwoodsbucks.com, get yours today, and I'll see you on the track.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't seem to mind it though.
I don't mind it. It's better than lugging a chainsaw around the woods. So
Oh yeah.
You're trying to get out of that now.
I am. Anybody looking for a skidder, I got one for sale. So. Nice one. But yeah, I'm looking to get out of that. Maybe start something else up or guide more often. More full time. So.
Yeah. I think life's all about you end up doing what you want to do.
That's right.
That's right. That's the American dream.
The funny
end
thing
up
is,
doing what you want to do.
I actually did. When I got out of the service there, my father cut wood, my grandfather cut wood, so I actually wanted to cut wood because I knew it was there's a certain amount of freedom, making your own schedule, not punching a time card. So it's worked out great for me. I'm ready to move on now. That's all.
Yep. I ended up getting my guide's license when I was 18. I always wanted to be a guide when I was a kid. And I hunted with this guy from the time I was 7 years old, and we hunted hounds, Dick Drysdale. And we hunted coons. He'd pick me up every night before dark, and he'd have me home by midnight, and then I'd sleep 5-6 hours and then get up and go to school all day, and he'd pick me back up the next night. We did that for like 45 days straight during coon season every year when I was a kid. And I loved it. I never missed a night. And then we deer hunted together. We ran bears together. Back then you could run bears all summer long, back in the 70s and the 80s.
Right.
And so I ended up getting my guide's license, and I guided, and I worked in a butcher shop over in Winslow, Maine, Alco Packing. I boned beef over there at night. So I worked during the day guiding, and I'd bone beef at night, and had 2 jobs. And then ended up meeting my wife, and her grandfather had an old bulldozer, and I started running that bulldozer, put my driveway in. My driveway is 600 feet long, and I said, geez, I really like running equipment. So I said, I'm going to buy a backhoe. And she supported me 100%. Everybody in the family told me, they said, you don't want to buy a backhoe, you'll end up broke your whole life. And here I am 38 years later and running my own construction company. I've had probably the best life that I think anybody could have ever had it. I lived the American dream. I got a place out west, and I built my own company, and it's been great. And I've guided in between all the way. I've always guided because it's something I like to do. It's a passion, and I love seeing other people be successful and shoot game. I just love seeing the look on their face or something when somebody does something for the first time, when you take them tracking or they shoot their first 200-pound buck or something like that, because they never forget that. You got a lifelong friend from that day on.
Part of guiding is enjoying watching people succeed. And I'll say about Rick, I met Rick when I first moved to Maine. Our daughters went to school together, and they were good friends in school. So I remember we were at a softball game one night, and we started talking hunting, and we hit it off.
No.
And
We're talking hunting?
Yeah. So one thing I always remember about Rick, because he's always had a reputation as a really good hunter in our area, he was always willing to share. He didn't know me from anyone, just met me there, but was always willing to share. He didn't have secret spots. He didn't hide anything. He was always open book. And to get into, I had been tracking for quite a few years, but not to the level that Rick was. And I think that's important, we all get caught up in, if we have a great spot or something and, you think you want to keep it to yourself. But I think part of the outfitting and guiding is sharing it and, letting other people enjoy it. And like Hal was saying, making people's dream come true. I don't know how many times I've had clients, it's every year, that they come up for that 6 days, they're there for that week, and the rest of the year you're in communication with them because you become good friends. And I've got one of my deer clients from last year sitting out here right now, and I've got my first ever deer client here somewhere, and it's a great thing. There's not many things where you can do that, where you keep relationships going like that, and that's, for me, is really part of the, one of the best parts about it.
Right. making a good hunt, and I've been on a lot of hunts, probably 125 all over the West and Canada and everywhere, and having a good, enjoyable hunt and making a connection with somebody is the most important thing, because they're going to think about that 6 days the entire year until the next season comes around. So you want to make that, you want to be a good guide and make an enjoyable hunt. So to me, that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, sounds like you're going to do some guiding for us next fall, huh?
I don't know. I was gonna.
Well, you acted all excited about, boy, I really enjoy helping people get their buck.
That means no.
I did.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say, so when I first came on Big Woods, Hal and Joe asked me to come on. I went on the podcast and I started telling all these spots up in Chapman where I killed this buck and killed that buck, and Hal's giving me hell. Geez, don't give up those spots. He says, we're going to have everybody over there and here and there. And so I'm going to have to be careful now not to tell what mountain range I was in.
You wrote a magazine article and you put a map with the mountain on it.
Put the topo map
Yeah,
down.
but it still
And
never hurt.
X out everything,
And it really doesn't matter.
it never
there's
hurt me
deer
any.
everywhere, and there's, it really doesn't matter.
I always said, if you're good at what you do and you're humble, competition does not matter. In business, hunting, anything, competition does not matter. Just be good at doing what you do. And I try to get along with every hunter. I try to share information. If I'm on a big buck track and I saw a huge buck down the road and I run into a guy and he says, I haven't seen much all week, I'll say, there was a really good buck down here at mile 12, and I probably, most of the time, I rub the track out because I want to save it in case this one doesn't work out. But I'll say, once you get down, you'll see my track, and sometimes I'll lay a piece of brush or something. Go take that track and try it. And over the years, I've had a few guys saying, oh, yeah, I come back, I killed that buck, and so that's a great thing.
One of the biggest rack bucks that I've ever killed, I shot in front of Rick. He was tracking it, and I bumped into him on the road, and he said, Jesus, Joe, I've been on this thing all day. Why don't you see if you can get ahead of me and cut him off? And I did.
Yeah.
About a mile and a half ahead of him.
Yeah,
and
about a mile and a half
right
ahead.
time, right place, everything worked out. But it was Rick's unselfishness that.
Yeah, I never heard the shot. And I come up, and Joe's got this beautiful buck on the ground. Was he a 200-pounder? He was close.
It was 197.
Oh.
Close.
He took the testicles
153 inches, I think, though. It was nice.
Yeah, it was a hell of a buck.
Yeah.
And I come up, and he had that buck laying on the ground. You should have seen a smile on his face. And it was funny because I was tracking that buck, and while I was tracking that buck, I come on to a bigger buck's track, and he had turned to the left. Well, earlier that day, I'd been around that road, and I never saw that bigger buck's track, so I knew he was laying up on that side of that mountain. So after Joe killed that buck, I come out, and I said, well, you killed him. I said, I'm going to go back and take this other one. And I told my father, I said, Dad, go down. And I said, stand on the gut pile of Joe's deer. And I said, don't stand where Joe was. I said, stand on the gut pile, because I said, that buck's going to come right down that same line. They always do. So I went up, sure enough, it was really thick in there, and I jumped that buck, and he made a loop, and he headed right for my father. And I got down there, and I heard, pow. And I said, oh, he got him. So I get down there, and Dad's standing there, and there's no buck. And I said, what happened? He goes, well, I got up on the gut pile, and I didn't like it. So he says, I moved back where Joe was standing, and he goes, the minute that buck got to the gut pile, he says, he reared up in the air like a horse, and he says, spun around, and he says, I shot at him running away. So that's one thing about guiding. You got to listen to the guide, because we usually know exactly what's going to happen, because we've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. You got to listen to the guide. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've told people, probably told you before, we're guiding a lot of the times now. I'm not anymore, which are going to be a little different, but it's not twice as hard to get a buck for another hunter when you're guiding, or if you're even filming, if you got a cameraman with you. When you got somebody with you, it's like 4 times harder to try to kill a buck that way.
Oh, yeah.
So you think about that, and all the guys on the team guiding, and taking guys and getting bucks and stuff, it's quite a feat, really. It's not easy. It's not like you're going out on your own and you know how to walk through the woods yourself and you can be quiet, because usually us, we're a little sneakier than most people and stuff, but so that's why I say it's more than double the noise, and it's more than double the
absolutely
the motion and all of that. So yeah, it's like 4 times harder, so it's a pretty good accomplishment. Anybody can, take somebody on the track and kill a buck,
So I got the signal from Brian. We're going to, if there's any, we want to kind of get some audience participation, but before we do, if anyone hasn't seen, we just released a video of Mike's deer from last season. If you haven't seen it yet, you ought to check it out on our channel because
it's good.
It's
a good video.
Brian put the video together. For anyone that doesn't know, Mike had a heart attack last year, and
it's a tearjerker.
4 heart attacks. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal. I mean, it was pretty scary, but he went out after that, and you have to watch the video to see how it ended up. But Brian brought the video to our spring thaw event, and the whole team sat in the bar at the lodge, and we were able to watch that video. And it's one of the most emotional videos, and it really goes to the essence of hunting. And Mike does a great job of conveying that, And I know we're all just glad that he's here to be able to sit up here and talk hunting with us. But if you haven't seen it as a hunter, it's really good. But anyway, I'm looking for Brian because he was gonna.
There he is.
So is there anyone that has any questions about what we're talking about or anything, any questions at all? We kind of want to put it out to the audience and see if there's anything anyone has.
Don't be bashful now.
Tracking, still hunting, bare ground hunting, anything.
We've answered them all.
It's got to be somebody.
No, they're on information overload this weekend, right?
Yeah.
They're going to every seminar and listen to everything, and you're all YouTubed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, because there's, guys will, going back to clients that want to come up and they have that experience. What they usually do is they'll contact and say, hey, can I come up next year and I'll pack moose, I'll set up camp, I'll cook, just to come and be part of camp and hang out with us. And, we usually, in that situation, we're pretty much set because we have the way we go, but we do that sometimes. And I would say that for anyone that wants to get in it, that's the best way to do it. Kind of like what Ben did, the route to it where, you show that you can get along with people and you have a passion for it. And with moose hunting, it requires some good legs sometimes.
Yeah.
So
I'd say one thing I meant to say earlier, but over the years, I can't count how many people have come to my lodge or whatever, and they'll go, I wish I could do this. You'll live in a dream, he says, I wish I could do this. And I said, you can or you could have. You just didn't make a decision to do it,
Yeah, you got to
so
make
if
that decision.
Anybody out there can do it. You don't have to, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your age really either, because I didn't start guiding when I was young. I had that stint in between the Marine Corps and then, a job for a couple years and then lobstered for 9 years. So I didn't get started guiding. I was 34 when I moved up. I had got my guide's license a few years before, but when I moved to Jackman, I was 34 years old. So, maybe that's a late start. I don't know.
That was just about the time I built my camp, I think.
Yeah.
Down on the Hardscrubber Road.
1991 we moved up. So.
Yeah, 92. I built my camp in 92.
It's not too late to start. If you got a dream and you don't like what you're doing, it's a miserable life if you're going to work your whole life at something you don't enjoy.
Yeah, then there's the other end of that is that it doesn't matter how old you are. I retired from this business a couple years ago. I was guiding for Joe and I was guiding for Hal. And I kind of retired, and then when I had my heart attack, my wife was kind of making the decision for me, eh? But you know what? This year, I got 6 bird hunters, 8 deer hunters, 2 moose hunters, and you know I'm busy all year, nonstop. And then whatever he makes me do. So I mean, you know, it's and I'm not gonna stop, you know. I'm 70. I'm gonna keep going, and Hal, he says he's retired. You know,
You never retire.
no, he can't.
No.
You can't do that. You just can't
can't
stay
do it.
out of the woods. You
You
know,
see,
we
you
really
see guys
can't
that
do
retire and
Yeah.
they end up dying. And
No.
stuff. Yeah, you got to keep going.
The only reason I'm not guiding deer hunters is more about my grandson and taking my grandson and
Yeah.
getting him. He wants to be a guide too. He's 13. He'll be 14 next month. So can't get your guide's license till you're 18. So I got 4 good years of training with him. You know, teach him a few things. And
He does everything with his grandson, and you ought to see the way his grandson looks up to him. He brought him over fishing with me, and you can tell that's his idol, you know. So it's all about spending time.
yeah, my wife says.
Very important.
My wife goes, he's just like you. He goes, I can't believe it. He's just like you. She'll write him a text, you know, like most gals do, you know. It's about 16, 17, 18 lines, and he writes back and he goes, "Yep." That's his response. She gets mad. She wants a conversation with him, but he's like, "That's the same thing I do." I boy, "Yep, no, yeah, see ya." Yeah.
This gentleman, did you have a question up here? Once.
If there's
Yeah.
snow,
We don't usually have snow, but we have had. Yeah, we've killed some tracking over the years, but I mean it's not common because the moose season's early October. But I remember back in the early 2000s, we had two moose seasons in a row where we had at least a foot of snow for the beginning of moose season. Yeah. Yeah, first full week of October, the season was then.
So I'm just for the podcast, I'm just going to mention the gentleman asked if we track moose like we track deer on the snow. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah, you can do it. You can
yeah.
track anything.
yeah.
Yep.
So to bring that back, I've hunted elk out in Wyoming probably like 19 years now. And if we get snow while I'm in Wyoming, I hunt elk exactly like I hunt bucks. I get on a big bull track, and I follow him until I either shoot him or jump him, and then I'll just keep following him. And I try to sneak and peek, I call it, with him all day because they love the rocks in the mountains. And they'll just keep up in these little rock ledges all day. So I try to loop around and catch him on the backside. And I usually kill an elk within a couple of days out there every year, and it works. You know, it works everywhere you go. Do I eat a sandwich? No. Elk, I stay right on him.
Rick eats his peaches.
Sometimes.
I think, you know, that sometimes, depending on the weather, we all like to call moose in because that's the interaction, and, you know, that's where you really get that rush. But
Yeah.
there's been more than one occasion where I'll tell the client we're going to hunt them like a deer. Like we had one instance where we had a hurricane that blew in. It was rainy and windy and blowing. So you just go in. A lot of guys stay right back. They're like, oh, they're not going to hear anything today. The wind's blowing too hard. Well, they're still out there.
Yeah.
The moose is still there. We went out and killed a nice bull.
The best time to
Still
kill a
hunting.
big buck is in a rainy or
Yeah.
snowy, windy day.
Right.
The worse the weather, the harder the wind blowing, the closer you're going to get to him. And chances are, if you find a track on a day like that, you're going to kill him. You know, I always said that the worse the weather, the better the hunting, right?
Deer killing days.
We had a bad 2000. We had bad snow the first week of moose. We hung 8 50-inch bulls the first day. Remember that?
Yeah.
8 of them.
I don't think it was 8.
7.
I think it was 6.
6. We hung 2 bulls all year. No.
This happens all the time, by the way. This is a normal conversation.
Mike's getting old, you know.
Gets mixed up.
He's getting a little forgetful.
He does this to me all the time.
Yeah,
And
that's
what's funny is that same week was the first moose hunt that I ever went on, and I tracked it, and it was on snow and shot a 58-inch bull.
yeah.
Way away from Jackman, over in the Rangeley area, Mooselook-Maguntic area. But it's funny because we talked about this at one time, and we talked about tracking moose, and that snow, of course, covered across the whole way. Of course, I didn't do as good as they did. They killed 14 of them.
Yeah, we used to take a few moose on us.
I think the most important thing with moose hunting now is to get off the road.
You have to now. Yep.
Yeah, they're road smart.
Back in those days,
back in the old
was
days,
stupid amount of moose. It
Yeah.
was really stupid. That's why they crashed with the ticks, because it was overpopulated. But
Yeah,
it was.
they're a lot smarter nowadays up in Maine than they ever were. So you actually got to hunt for them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes it more fun and more challenging.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that's changed a lot in the outfitting businesses. I know when I first started, I'm sure Hal can attest to it, there was way more non-resident hunters that were hiring guides than the resident hunters. I mean, every resident either knew someone or, had a buddy that had all the equipment, and it was a matter of driving around and finding the bull you wanted to shoot. And what we're all seeing now is a lot more residents that are hiring guides just because the hunt's changed so much, and they realize that, the guys that do it all the time, that have a little bit better feel of where the moose are and stuff, you're going to have a better chance at it.
Yeah, if you want to know how much the moose hunting has evolved over the years, is that all you got to do is look at Ben, and look at Joe. These are the guys you need now to get your moose out. Whereas before, 5'5", I could load them in my truck anytime I wanted to. But it's not like that anymore.
Right.
It's not. I can still do it, but these guys can't.
So talking about outfitting and guiding, I'll say one of the most memorable hunts that I remember that wasn't my hunt, but it was Mike's hunt, was just, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And, you never know what the week's going to bring when you're in this business and you're out hunting. And on any given week, I'm going to have, 4 or 5 hunts going. So we use in-reaches, and if someone gets a moose and they need help, we can use a satellite messenger and send a message out, and help's on the way. Well, Mike called one in, and his client shot it. I mean, right at the last minute. Like, they were talking about it after. They're watching their watch while this bull's coming, and they can hear it, and it's getting close. And they shot it right at the last minute. So it's dark. And long story short is we get the call that they need help. Well, we're all back at camp. Candace has got dinner on, and we're all getting ready to eat. But Mike needs help because we've got to pack this moose out. We took the entire camp. I think there was 13 of us. Yeah. 13 of us, and we went back on a winter road. And we had to take my truck and load everyone in the back of the truck, and some people walking. And we went all the way into the moose was. We brought every frame pack we had, and we all sat there with lights going and cutting this moose up. And I mean, awesome team effort. And we packed them out, and we got that moose out in one trip. It's the only time I've ever done that. And it was one of the funnest hunts that I've ever had because everyone got to be a part of it. And, those are the things, like they were talking about the kill. The kill's great, but when you can bring someone out there and be part of that whole experience, it's a lot of fun. And that was a lot of fun. Coming out with headlamps and, people packing moose that never had one on their back and everything, it was a good time.
Yeah, and the young man that shot the moose, we made him carry the head with the antlers. That was a classic picture, too. Classic.
So, I think it's about there, Al.
The crowd's getting thicker in here now. Oh, we can't hear a thing.
Hold on.
Brian Connor.
Brian's gonna come over and.
Brian, would you go over there
hand
with
you a
that
mic.
young lady so we can hear what she's saying?
Got to relay a message
Yeah,
here.
relay the message.
Yeah, come on, Brian. This was your program to do
Come
this.
on. He's trying to sell a hat and a couple of jackets now. But
Fanny pack.
All right.
All right. Last time we had a mic set up down there for this. All right. Here's a brave young woman right here with a question.
So I'm just curious, as each of you were building your business, I know you said before that part of it that was hard was that more money was going out than coming in. Other than that, how long did it take for you guys to feel like your business was successful? And was there any other hard parts to it?
Could everybody hear that? Yeah, okay.
I was probably 20 years before I stopped having to borrow money in the spring to get me going the next spring and pay insurance and get caught back up again and then work my ass off all summer and 110 hours a week. But it took me about 20 years before I got fairly comfortable and I could start doing what I wanted to do, and I knew I was over the hump. How about you, Hal?
Go ahead, Joe. We'll go down the line.
Yeah, for me, snowmobiling was what actually helped my business to get started. And when I opened, it was basically the first year of Facebook, and so it was Facebook and hardcore sledder. So where my lodge is right kind of in the epicenter of some of the best riding in the Northeast. So so as far as my business went, the snowmobiling helped to carry it because it was an instant audience. We had a great location. We opened a restaurant. My wife and I opened a restaurant, so it was something that was really needed in the area. And there was a lot of people around. What's nice about up where we are is there was no, oh, there's a new guy in town, we're not going to talk to him. It was the opposite. Guys like Hal would come down and come to lunch, and he'd give us ideas and, tell us the things that he thought would work good. And, so it was that help. And then as far as the outfitting part goes, it started, like I said in the beginning, just going out for fun, taking people. And I'll never forget the first client that I booked that was a real client, no discount. It was, full price of $2,800 for the moose hunt. And
Joe was always too cheap on his prices.
I used to guide bear hunters for $25 a night.
That you're just showing your age now, Rick. So that gentleman, Joel Merson, who was my first client, we're still good friends to this day. He's been on 2 other moose hunts with me, and he's a super guy. But, it's one of those, it's like anything else. You just have to start somewhere and build it. And I met Hal around the time that I was getting started. He was always a great sounding board, and he had so much experience at that point, to give me pointers and, like, you need to raise your prices, you're too cheap. And which was good advice. But, it's like any business. You got to grind at it, And in my case, in the lodge business, like I'm in, it's a very seasonal. You're from season to season. And it's funny, Hal and I had this discussion the other day. We went out and moved his camp. And so we're riding along talking about how we both got started and stuff. And that's one thing that's different about the outfitting business and guiding is you live from season to season, and you got to go, whether it's just hunting or the snowmobiling part of it, it's all seasonal. So you have to really have the discipline to take that money, because it looks great, but then you realize, well, that's got to last another 4 months, right, to get to the next season. So I would say that's the biggest difference between that and a conventional business, is knowing how to keep it going through the year.
Yeah, I don't know how long it took to get straightened around, but it was a long time. I remember back in the early days, I'd tell my wife, I got to go pick up some bear bait or something, and I'd have to find out if there was enough money in the checking account, the debit card out, to get gas to go get bear bait.
Right.
We went through that. But because you got your money in chunks, you get deposits, and you started getting going. You get your deposits in the winter. Generally, you're booking your hunts, and then plus you had I knew going into the outfitting business, I wasn't going to make a living just guiding. So I knew we had to have cabins, and that's why I actually chose Jackman, because it's a real four-season area. It's like kind of the snowmobile capital of Maine.
Chris is giving us the hook. Gotta go.
The hook.
Yeah.
The hell with him.
They need the stage.
And then, so anyways, I knew I had to, I wanted to go to Jackman, and I knew the area because I'd been going there since a teenager. But yeah, you got to go season to season, and you get your deposits in, and then you get through the winter, and then from basically April and May, there's no business. So you hope you got enough, and that's when you do your upkeep. So if you got to fix anything or build anything, you got to do it in April or May. And then the summer season starts, and then you have your summer season go by, and then that runs into the fall season, and then you pick up, we did a lot of the guided hunts, between the bear, the moose, and the deer, so it was a bigger chunk of money coming in, but it was also the biggest chunk going out. You know what I mean? The time you pay all the guides, bear hunting, you got a month of expense running gas through bait trucks and buying bait and paying the guides and everything for a month before they show up and give you the rest of their money so you can cover everything, And I remember, Mike remembers too, my wife used to have to juggle things, and ask them if they could hold their check a little bit to get through the next week, I mean, it was bad. It was probably, I got to say, we were probably 10 years before we started seeing the daylight where we got it ironed out, and we got to, because we were building it up. We didn't have enough hunters to make the numbers work for about 10 years. And then we figured out what we needed and got that system going. And then once we did, then it started to get easier. You know what I mean? Then we knew what to expect every year, and we built from that. But we just tried to, if you're interested in any business, guiding business, whatever, don't be like everybody else. Be your own business. Pick a niche you want to get in.
Yep.
Promote your business a certain way to stand out, and that's what will make the difference. And then whatever business it is, you got to be good with people. No matter what business you're in, you're dependent on people for your income.
Absolutely.
Yep. Chris has given us the hook.
That's the hook. Yeah,
Chris who? I thought you were the guy controlling this podcast.
Not this kid.
Well, I guess we've flapped our gums long enough. The big cheese told us we got to quit. I guess we're on a time schedule. They're going to kick it. Oh, I know what they want to do. Everybody's coming in to win their prizes.
They're not here for you, Hal.
Yeah, they're not here for us. They're here for their door prizes. So, anyways.
I got the ticket in my pocket.
All right. Well, thanks for everybody showing up to listen to us. And like I always say on the podcast, we appreciate you supporting our sponsors, because that's what keeps us going. Hope you enjoy it. And till next time, good luck on the trail. You need that bottle?
Hey guys, Joe here. Wanted to take a few minutes to talk about Lake Parlin Lodge. We're a four-season lodge located just south of Jackman. We've got cabins, lodge rooms, mini lodge. We're a big snowmobile destination in the winter, full restaurant, bar, all the amenities that you need for your trip. Open obviously through the summer, right on the lake. Kayaks, canoes, all included with the cabin. We also do a lot of weddings, so if you're looking for a destination wedding, we can do a wedding up to 200 people. And of course, we've got our hunting season, moose season, deer season. So check us out. We're at lakeparlinlodge.com.
Hi, everyone. Team member Mark Sheeran here. I've been helping people solve their addictions for the last 34 years. In 2017, we published the revolutionary non-12-step book, The Freedom Model for Addictions. If you'd like a free paperback copy sent directly to you, go to freebook.freedommodel.org. That's freebook.freedommodel.org. All right, take care.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Till next time, good luck on the trail.